Hi guys, this is just a quick little video here to show you the state of Heart of the Swarm right now for Terran. There's still, right now, we just had the biggest balance patch in the beta, and it might be the biggest balance patch in the history of StarCraft 2, to be perfectly honest. This balance patch, basically, we're getting very close to release, and even though there's still some amount of time left, I think it's fairly likely that this is starting to look really close to what we're going to see on release. So I wanted to show you exactly, what's different for Wings of Liberty as a Terran. What are you going to be able to do? What's a little bit different? So let's start things off. The first thing is Reapers. Reapers no longer have the bonus damage to buildings that they had. However, what they now have is two abilities. The first is called combat drugs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these things take some damage from those stalkers. One of them died. I just need to let him take a little bit of damage. All right, there we go. So what these Reapers do is, as you can see, he took damage, but once he's out of combat for a little bit, see, he starts to regenerate health on his own, no medevac required or anything. So the point of this is you're going to be able to come in with the Reapers, do some harassment, kill a drone or two, come back out, come over here, heal up, come back in. It's going to make them a persistent threat. The other thing that Reapers have is this ability called battlefield awareness. Used to be that as a Terran, you had your Reapers and you would leap up onto your cliffs, but your opponent would have something waiting up here to kill it, right? Like there's stalkers, we know, hiding up here. Well, Reapers have now this ability, battlefield awareness, where you can see up the cliff ahead of time. Before you even jump up, you get to see. And so that's really cool. These things are going to be used for a lot of things. I think that people might even at some point put one or two of them in an army in like early game kind of all-in pushes to give vision for siege tanks and things like that. And certainly in team games, for what that's worth, people are going to use these things like crazy to spot for blink and all kinds of crazy things like that. So that's the Reaper. What else? Well, the Thor has had its energy bar removed really big and its strike cannon removed. Really, really, really big deal. This is really good for Terrans who like to mech against Protoss, because it means that the High Templar will not just own Thors immediately, which is quite good. What it does have is this ability called High Impact Payload. What this does is it transforms the Thor, you can see it changing, into a different air attack. It still has the air attack we're used to, which is it does a little bit of splash damage and is good against things like light units, like Mutalisks. So it's what you'd want to use to deal with Mutalisks. That still exists. However, you can now transform that into an ability which does better against single targets in the air. As you can see, this Thor is not going to do so well against the Void Ray with that current ability. We can, however, turn this thing, takes 4 seconds to activate, and it now has 10 range, and it's going to do a lot more damage to the single target Void Ray. As you can see, it's taken that health down on that Void Ray much more quickly. I don't know if it's going to win, especially because it already took a little bit of damage, but the Thor is, and it does win, it's much better. The Hunter-Seeker missile from the Raven no longer requires an upgrade. That's good. It has been changed, however, so that it is no longer an ability which is area of effect. It used to be as area of effect, pretty decently strong attack, not that strong, but decently strong, because it was splashed. It doesn't have splash anymore. However, it now is single target 300 damage to any unit. So I can put the Hunter-Seeker on that Broodlord and boom, it's dead. The other thing is that the Hunter-Seeker missile now has a longer range. This one might change a little bit, we'll see, because right now it does exactly the same thing as the Yamato cannon. So we'll see exactly if that's going to stay that way or not. Another thing that the Terrans have now is Hellions. They stay the same as they always have been. However, you can transform them once you have an armory into battle Hellions, as they used to be called, and they're now called Hellbats. What is a Hellbat? It is a walking Hellion, which does damage not in a line, right, like Hellions do. Like if I send these Hellions in to do damage, these Hellions are going to come in and they do damage in a line. well, the Hellions now, as you're going to see, do damage in a cone when they're in this form. The other thing is that they now count as bio, and so they can be healed by medevacs. And lastly, they have extra health. They have an additional 45 additional health. So you're going to see these things used to buffer Terran bio balls against Protoss in the late game, against all those zealots. You're going to see it used in certain compositions versus Zerg and Terran and mech compositions. And because they can be healed, they're really, really quite strong. Now, I'm going to show you these things attacking these immortals with the healing of the medevac, just so you can see the medevacs healing them. Now these immortals are still going to destroy, in the end, these battle Hellions. I want you to note this. They're going to wipe out these Hellions. You can see the cone of damage being done in front. It's not as long as the Hellions would do normally. However, it is... it's not as long as the Hellions used to do, right? But it is actually, in long, I mean in distance of the range, but it's in a big cone, so it will do more immediate damage. Let me get rid of these immortals for just a minute, and I'm actually going to go ahead and build a couple of more immortals, and I'll show you why in just 1 second. I'm going to build 3 more immortals because I want to show you another ability that has been added to Terran. It's not a new thing so much as it changes the way medevacs work. BioWare felt that medevacs in the late game were a little bit, that bio in the late game was a little bit weak. And so, once Storm comes out, once all these different things come out for medevacs, for other races, massive siege tanks, Hellions everywhere, Storm, Colossus, Broodlord, Infestor, Fungal Growth, all that kind of stuff. And so what they said is bio needs a little help in the late game. And so the way they've done that is by giving this ability that you can upgrade now on a Tech Lab for the Starport Caudicus Reactor. It used to just increase how much energy medevacs came out with. Now it increases the healing rate of medevacs by 2. So that's pretty good. I want you to watch the difference in this battle with the change that has been made to the medevac healing rate. Watch the difference as these Hellions fight these 3 immortals. One of the Hellions is going to go down. Okay? But remember, the last battle, the immortals all survived, and how many Hellions survived? None. In this battle, as you can see, the immortals are actually going to lose the fight. You're going to have 2 Hellions survive, and you're going to have all 3 immortals die to these Hellbats, as they're now called. They're not called Battle Hellions. So the amount of extra healing that is provided by these medevacs now is really quite remarkable. It's really amazing. The other thing is that say that they come in and you've done a drop and then additional units come in. Oh, you can't deal with these things. You can pick up and then get away and watch this. Boom. Did you see those medevacs speed away? There's this new ability that has a 20-second cooldown, emergency thrusters. Not BioWare, but Blizzard said, you know what, we're seeing that medevac drops are being used less and less. They used to be a part of the game which made it exciting and fun and added strategy and let Terran deal with some of the things that other races could do. But other races have kind of figured out how to deal with this. You have a High Templar somewhere, you have a couple of Stalkers, a cannon, a turret, a Spore Crawler, Queen. It's hard for medevacs, fungal growth, to get drops done. So now there's this ability, no upgrade required, just comes basic on medevacs. Here's the basic flight rate of medevacs, but you can now activate whenever you need to get away or whatever, this emergency thrusters, and they fly an additional 70% movement speed for 8 seconds. So that's really, really quite good. Lastly, I'm going to show you the other thing Terrans now have, which is these things called Widow Mines. Widow Mines are these little things. They move around pretty quickly. What they do is you burrow them. And when you burrow them, they then will fire on any unit that comes into range, and they actually do an incredible amount of damage. They do they do pretty good. Watch him take out the Zergling. That's only one Zergling, of course. But what they do is area of effect damage. I want you to see how strong these things are. I'm going to blink a Stalker down. And watch what these things can do to this Stalker. Boom! One shot's the Stalker. Really, really, really strong. I'm going to bring these other two Stalkers here so you can see the area of effect damage that they do. Killed them both because there was multiple ones, but you saw the second Stalker take a little bit of damage ahead of time. The attack has a cooldown, a 40-second cooldown, but of course you can unburrow them and you can move them around and burrow them. These are going to be used for map control and map vision and all kinds of things. One thing I'm using these things with right now is to just spread them throughout the map, put one at each Zelnaga tower, stuff like that. They don't actually control the tower, but you get vision of the map. You can have these things, you know, spread throughout the map. Let me turn off my vision of everything except, right, I can actually go ahead and unburrow these things, and I can move them into these other locations and burrow them, and I'm going to have map vision that I wouldn't have had before, right, because of these things just spread out everywhere. They're almost like little mini creep tumors. They're actually really cool. The other thing with these is you can get an upgrade on the Tech Lab. It's replaced the 250mm strike cannon, which I said the Thor no longer has. It decreases the burrow times from 3 seconds to 1 second. So now after I do that, watch this. These things root into the ground, just boom, snap, there they are. These things are really, really good. They're going to be used to protect expansions and all kinds of things. Let me give myself control back of the entire map, and I'm going to send these Zerglings in. Zerglings trying to run by your base, trying to come into your base, right? Here they are. These things are cloaked, by the way, remember? Boom! Look at that. Zergling's dead. They didn't get to those SCVs because these things are right here protecting you with all that area of effect damage, okay? Really, really strong. Another thing that you're going to do with these things, okay? You're going to put 2 or 3 of these things at your expansion, at an entranceway to your base. What did Zergs do with Mutalisks? They harass, they fly them around, but they control them. They come in, right? They see a missile turret, and so they back out, right? And they know how to control them, the really good Zergs, so that they'll come in and they'll do damage to something. They'll take a shot from a missile turret on that muta, but they'll turn them around somehow so that now another muta is taking fire from the missile turret. I did that terribly, by the way. And then they can come back in and do more damage because the missile turret is now only hitting them, that other one. They're just really good at controlling these things. But now they're going to be flying around with your pack of mutas. You're going to go to harass the Terran's base, not knowing that, oh my goodness, what happened to all my Mutalisks? Did you see what just, I mean, this Thor is not really doing any of that damage, but that was amazing how much damage those things did to all those mutas. And there's no way for the Zerg to really know without having detection, which is of course an Overseer, and the thing's going to kill an Overseer too. So these things really, really just incredibly strong for Terran map control. You know, they're very, very good. I think that you're going to see, I mean, look at how strong they are, even against those Immortals, which were damaged a little bit, but still, these are Immortals, man. So, a lot of really cool things for Terran in this game. That's what you're going to be doing. The one other thing I'll say that I think that you're going to see Terrans doing with these things is, I think you're going to see something like this. It used to be that as Terran, you would do this with your siege tanks. You'd siege them up, and then you'd unsiege some of them, and then you'd move them, you know, and leapfrog them, right? And then as these things sieged up, right, you'd unsiege these ones, and then you'd leapfrog them again. And it's kind of micro-intensive to a degree because you have to control them one at a time, and it's not the most efficient thing to do, although people who are really good at it are able to do it really quite well. But I think what you're going to actually see Terrans do is, I think you're going to start to see something like this, at least in some situations. You're going to see, now again, it's not necessarily good to clump them all up, but sometimes it is. So you're going to see Terrans do that, and then they're going to send the Widow Mines up ahead, right? And then they're going to go ahead, boom, these things have now sieged up, and then they're going to unsiege, and then they'll leapfrog the tanks over here, and then they'll do that, and then after they get those things sieged up, they'll unsiege the Widow Mines, and then they'll leave those things. And I think that's what they're going to do. The other thing that I think you're going to see Terrans doing is, right now, Terran mech is going to be really tough to do in Wings of Liberty. I mean, in Heart of the Storm, at least against Zerg, because of those things, which I discussed with you. These things, the Vipers, which are going to be able to do really insanely annoying things to you as a Terran. If you're trying to do mech, these things are going to go ahead, and if you're sieged up, right, with your mech, you know, this is basically a mech army right now, right? Let's do this, get rid of the Reapers, and then we have a mech army, okay? Let me actually build a couple of siege tanks so that it'll be a full-fledged mech army, right? They changed the hotkeys. Sorry, I made some Widow Mines by mistake. But in any case, here's your Terran mech army in Heart of the Swarm, okay? And so you're gonna have these siege tanks here, but what can these Vipers do? Well, they can come in and they can like abduct your siege tanks, right? Or even worse, they can put blinding cloud on your siege tanks. So these siege tanks cannot fire now unless they move out, and their mechs they have to unsiege. They have to move over here, move out, re-siege, and the Zerglings are going to be all over them. So how the crap are you going to deal with this as a Terran? I think one of the ways that you're going to end up seeing people do it is they're going to have these things in their army. Now, this is just me. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe, you know, I'm not MVP or something, but we'll see. I think what you're going to see is even just a few of these things, even just like 4 of them, okay? We can put here, we can burrow these things up, okay? So that when our Vipers come in to try to come in here and try to abduct the siege tanks, are going to get owned by these things. The other thing is that these things seem to be immune to blinding cloud. And I don't know if it's a bug, but they seem to be immune. So I think that that's another thing you're going to see. You're going to see these things always used maybe to protect your siege tanks along with your Hellions, your Hellbats. And so you're going to see, I mean, let's just see. I don't even know. I did not plan this out at all. But let's just see now if, without really microing it, if this Protoss army can beat this Terran army. I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, it's doing pretty darn well against that random army of Protoss and Zerg and stuff. I think just because of the lack of detection, what's going to end up happening is the Widow Mines, or if these things stay around, are going to kill all this other stuff in just a minute here once the cooldown finishes. But that was pretty good without even having blue flame or anything. So Widow Mines, I think, might end up being pretty strong, only when they're used smartly, though, because when you're just trying to put them by themselves, they are kind of easy to snipe. So in any case, that's Terran in Heart of the Swarm. That's what we're seeing so far. I didn't have those Reapers in there, but that's fine. We'll see. We'll see how things go as we move forward. As you can see, they won't shoot this observer because they no longer detect cloaked units. They used to be able to shoot at cloaked units. So in any case, that's Heart of the Swarm for you from a Terran perspective, guys. Have fun.